The largest army ever assembled in the ancient world, 250,000 soldiers. The greatest empire on earth, Persia. Standing against them, a collection of small Greek city-states that could barely agree on anything. No unified command, no single king, no real plan, just desperate men fighting for everything they loved, their homes, their families, their freedom. And on one single day, on a dusty plain called Plataea, they did the impossible. They didn't just survive, they destroyed the Persian Empire's dreams forever. To understand Plataea, you must understand what came before it. 499 BC, Greek cities on the coast of modern-day Turkey, called Ionia, rebelled against Persian rule. Athens sent ships to help them. The rebellion was crushed. But the Persian king Darius, and later his son Xerxes, never forgot that Athens had dared to interfere. In 490 BC, Darius sent a fleet to punish Athens. At the Battle of Marathon, the Athenians achieved one of history's most stunning upsets, defeating the Persian army against impossible odds. A messenger ran 42 kilometers to Athens to announce the victory, then collapsed and died. That run became the origin of the modern marathon race. But Persia was not done. Darius died, his son Xerxes took over, and Xerxes was furious. He spent 4 years preparing the most massive invasion force the ancient world had ever seen. He reportedly had a bridge of boats built across the Hellespont, the narrow strait between Asia and Europe, so his army could walk from Asia into Greece. When a storm destroyed the bridge, Xerxes allegedly ordered the sea itself to be whipped 300 times as punishment. This was the man coming for Greece. And in 480 BC, he came. 480 BC was the year Greece nearly ceased to exist. At Thermopylae, the famous mountain pass, King Leonidas of Sparta and 300 Spartans plus several thousand Greek allies held the Persian army for 3 days. They died almost to the last man. But they bought Greece something more valuable than victory: time. The Persian army swept south. Athens was evacuated. The entire civilian population abandoned their city. The Persians walked in and burned it to the ground. The temples on the Acropolis, including the original Parthenon, reduced to ash and rubble. Greece seemed finished. But then, at the Battle of Salamis, the Greek fleet lured the massive Persian navy into narrow waters where numbers meant nothing, and destroyed it. Xerxes, watching from a golden throne on the hillside above, saw his naval power shattered in a single afternoon. He returned to Persia, personally, but he left behind an army. 300,000 soldiers, some estimates say, under his best general, Mardonius, with orders to finish what Xerxes had started, to conquer Greece once and for all. Greece had one more battle to fight, the most important battle in Western history: Plataea. After Salamis, the Greeks faced a terrifying reality. Persia's army was still in Greece, still larger than anything the Greeks could field, still commanded by Mardonius, one of the most experienced generals of the era. And the Greek city-states, as always, were arguing. Sparta wanted to build a wall across the Isthmus of Corinth and defend only the Peloponnese, essentially abandoning Athens and northern Greece permanently. Athens was furious. Without the Athenian fleet, there was no Greek navy. Without a Greek navy, Sparta's wall meant nothing. Persian ships would simply sail around it. After weeks of bitter negotiation, a deal was struck. The Greeks would fight together, united. It was the largest Greek military coalition in history. Sparta contributed its legendary heavy infantry, the finest soldiers in the ancient world, commanded by the regent Pausanias, nephew of Leonidas. Athens contributed thousands of hoplites, citizen soldiers in bronze armor, fighting in the famous phalanx formation. 31 Greek city-states in total sent forces. Total Greek strength, approximately 110,000 men. Against a Persian force estimated between 120,000 and 300,000, the exact number debated by historians for centuries. Whatever the true numbers, the Persians had more. They always had more. And on a wide plain near the small city of Plataea in central Greece, the two sides met. What followed was not an immediate clash. It was 11 days of nerve-shredding tension. The Persian army took up position on the open plain, perfect terrain for their cavalry. The Greeks positioned themselves on higher ground, the slopes of Mount Cithaeron, where Persian cavalry could not charge effectively. Both sides waited. Mardonius sent his cavalry to probe Greek positions, testing their formation, looking for weaknesses. The Greeks held. Then Mardonius made a brilliant move. He sent Persian cavalry to attack the Greek supply lines coming through the mountain passes. Suddenly, the Greeks were running low on food and water. He found a spring the Greeks were using and contaminated it. The Greeks were now hungry, thirsty, and under constant cavalry harassment. Pausanias, the Greek commander, made the difficult decision to fall back to a better position closer to Plataea with access to fresh water. This retreat, conducted at night, went badly. Units got separated. The Spartan contingent ended up isolated. The Athenians were out of position. At dawn, the Greek army was scattered and vulnerable. Mardonius saw his opportunity. He ordered the full Persian advance, and what had been 11 days of careful maneuvering suddenly became a desperate, chaotic, life-or-death struggle. The Persian cavalry hit the isolated Spartan force first. Arrows filled the sky. The Persians were masters of ranged combat. Their archers could fire faster and further than almost any army of the era. Spartan shields bristled with arrows. Men fell. But the Spartans held formation. Here is what made Spartan warriors unlike any other soldiers in the ancient world. They had trained for exactly this moment their entire lives. From age 7, Spartan boys were taken from their families and put through the agoge, one of the most brutal military training systems in human history. 20 years of preparation for one purpose: to stand in the shield wall and not break. No matter what came at them, no matter how many arrows fell, no matter how loud the enemy screamed, they did not break. Pausanias, surrounded, outnumbered, shields splintering under arrow fire, sent a desperate message to the Athenians for help. The Athenians were immediately intercepted by Greek allied troops fighting for Persia, the Boeotians, fellow Greeks who had sided with the enemy. The Athenians had to fight their own countrymen while the Spartans fought for their lives. And then, Mardonius made his fatal mistake. He ordered the Persian infantry forward, into direct hand-to-hand combat with the Spartans. It was the moment the battle turned. Persian infantry were brave fighters, well-equipped, experienced, numerous. But they carried wicker shields and fought in looser formations designed for missile combat. The Spartan phalanx was something entirely different. A wall of bronze and iron. Overlapping shields, long spears extending forward in multiple rows, moving together as a single, unstoppable unit. When the two forces collided, the Persians discovered something terrifying. Their weapons could not penetrate Spartan armor. Spartan spears could penetrate everything. The Persian line began to buckle. And then, Mardonius himself rode forward, on a white horse, in magnificent armor, surrounded by his elite bodyguard of 1,000 hand-picked Persian warriors. He was trying to rally his men, to show them their leader was not afraid. It was an act of genuine courage. It was also a fatal mistake. A Spartan unit identified Mardonius. They pushed through the chaos directly toward him. A Spartan warrior named Mnestis, according to the historian Herodotus, struck Mardonius with a stone. He fell from his horse and was killed. The moment Mardonius died, the Persian army collapsed. When news spread that Mardonius was dead, the Persian army did not retreat. It fled. 300 years of Persian military invincibility shattered in minutes. The greatest empire on earth, running from a collection of Greek city-states. The Greeks pursued. The Persians ran toward their fortified camp, a massive enclosure they had built at the start of the campaign. The Greeks stormed the walls. Fighting in the camp was brutal and desperate. Cornered Persians fighting with the ferocity of men who knew there was nowhere left to run. But the outcome was never in doubt. The camp fell. The treasure of the Persian army, gold, silver, elaborate tents, fine furniture, horses, camels, all of it captured. Greek soldiers who had been eating dried bread and sleeping on hard ground walked into tents furnished with golden couches and silver tables. One famous story says the Greeks found the Persian royal kitchen fully prepared, elaborate meals ready for Mardonius and his officers. Pausanias reportedly sat down at Mardonius's golden table, had his own simple Spartan meal prepared alongside it, and invited his officers to compare the two. Then said, "Men of Greece, I brought you here to show you the foolishness of this man, who had such plenty, and yet came to rob us of our poverty." The battle was over. Greece was saved. Plataea was not just a military victory. It was one of the most consequential moments in human history. Think about what would have happened if Persia had won. Greek civilization, democracy, philosophy, theater, mathematics, science, was at that precise moment in the process of inventing the intellectual foundations of the Western world. Socrates was a child in Athens in 479 BC. Plato had not yet been born. Aristotle, the teacher of Alexander the Great, was generations away. The Parthenon, the greatest building in the ancient world, had not yet been built. Everything that came from Greece, everything that shaped Rome, which shaped Europe, which shaped the modern world, was still in its earliest, most fragile stage. If Persia had won at Plataea, if Greek civilization had been absorbed into the Persian Empire, there may have been no Socrates, no Plato, no Aristotle, no democracy, no Western philosophy, no foundations for modern science. The world we live in today, every institution, every idea, every value, traces back through an unbroken chain to ancient Greece. And ancient Greece survived because of what happened on a dusty plain near a small city called Plataea in the summer of 479 BC. The men who fought at Plataea had no idea what they were saving. They were not fighting for Western civilization. They were fighting for their homes, their families, their freedom. Symbol-men, farmers, craftsmen, soldiers, standing in a line of bronze and iron against the greatest empire the world had ever seen. And they held. They always held. The Persian Empire survived Plataea. It would last another 150 years before Alexander the Great finally ended it. but it never threatened Greece again. The dream of Persian domination over Europe died on that plain. And from the freedom that victory preserved grew everything. Everything. If this video gave you something, like it. Subscribe for more deep dives into the battles that changed human history forever. And tell me in the comments, do you think Greece could have survived without the Spartans' stand at Thermopylae buying them time? I will see you in the next one.